What is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome to Collectors Gone Digital. My name's Josh, and on today's episode, we are talking about my local comic book shops. So a few weeks back, a topic was raised in the community around whether the digital side is helping the physical or hurting it. And so I decided to visit some of my local comic book shops to talk to some of these owners to get their thoughts and opinions on what's happened over the years. Now, I wasn't able to speak to all the owners, and aside from one, they were not willing to appear on camera or allow me to record the conversation. So that should give you a little hint to how this video is going to go. But I am going to recap the most common answers I got. I do have one recording in this video, and then I'm also going to talk about some ways that these shops can effectively transition online if they haven't done so already. So let's not waste any more time. Grab a drink, grab a snack, sit back, relax, and enjoy. All right, so I'm going to give my opinion right off the bat here so you guys don't have to wait till the end. I think it's pretty obvious that the digital side is complementing the physical side. It's not replacing it. And my points later on talking about how these shops can adapt will explain a little bit more about that. So talking about some of the common answers I got from these owners, the first one was I don't know much about the digital side. And this came from both the owners as well as employees. And some of these employees were on the younger side as well. Now, of the people who were aware of digital comics, another answer I got here is that they're worthless. And I'm sure for anybody who's been involved with VeVe or any digital comics for a little while now, you know that that's not the case. I guess it depends on your definition of worthless. If you compare it to like a physical Marvel Comics #1 that sells for millions of dollars versus the digital copy that sells for, 30 or whatnot on VeVe right now, sure. But there are many collectors on the platform that would argue, even at the 30 gem price point, that the digital copy of Marvel Comics #1 is not worthless. So what I started to notice with a lot of these shops is that they're closed off to the digital side. And when I say closed off, I don't mean that they're not aware of it. I mean that there's a lack of interest to learn about it. So I can acknowledge that a lot of these shops are trying to adapt. But the problem here is that because they prefer to be traditional, they're not adapting the right ways. And so another answer I got from a lot of these shop owners is that over the years, traffic inside their stores has been trending down. Now, some of them have introduced additional offerings to try and stay afloat. When I say additional offerings, more than just comics, some comics and collectibles. You got the Funko Pops. A couple years back, we had the big Pokemon trading card craze again. But one thing I want to add here is that all of the additional offerings these shops are introducing, they're all still physical items. They are all still products they need to hold in their store. None of the products I came across were digital. And so when I asked about this, this was the answer I got. Lots of people still prefer physicals. And I go, okay, sure, yes, I don't disagree with that. But can you acknowledge that you're only talking about one half of the field here? If you hop over the fence, there's a whole other audience. And that's pretty much the point where I would get the shaking of the head, where they would change the topic and go back to one of their previous talking points. They are absolutely right that physical comics carry a sense of nostalgia or tradition that digital comics lack. But every single time I brought up the digital side, it just seemed to me like they had trouble supporting it. One point that a couple shop owners mentioned, and this goes back to David's talking point about the tabletop games in the back of his shops, they said that their shops serve as community hubs. And I'm sure all of us can agree that, being able to meet up in real life at a comic book shop is much different than hopping into a Twitter space and talking via your phone. Now, before I get into my thoughts, opinions, and all my other talking points, I do want to get into that quick little phone recording, as well as an example of someone in the community who I think kind of debunks this whole, oh, digital is hurting physicals.
I'm more physical myself.
Okay.
Like physical because, personally speaking, the idea that I can still.
All right. So before I get into that particular individual in the community, I want to set the stage. Okay. So you guys rewind 15, 20 years ago, and you asked a business if they were online. That question wasn't really that crazy, right? Because the question was still up in the air. Not every business was. Nowadays, and especially with the resources we have, being online is an expectation. So having the website, having the social media, having the online presence is what every single business should be aiming to do nowadays. If you can't check those boxes off to begin with, you've now lost credibility and trust with your audience. So we've talked about this topic a couple times now in VeVe spaces, and a talking point that keeps coming up is, oh, they are adapting. Oh, they are running live shows. And my answer to that is because everyone is expected to be online nowadays, running a simple live show is not enough. So the question is, how does that comic shop set themselves apart in the sea of online content? And there's a full process involved here. So again, I want to reiterate, clicking the go live button is not enough. Setting up a social media page and making a post is not enough, okay? Only creating a website and not having an option to add stuff to a cart is not enough. When I say it's a process, it's a combination of things that a business needs to do in order to actually acquire the customer. This is exactly what we're about to dive into, today's modern customer journey. You can go live once every single day. Screw it, actually, let's say 3 times a day, right? 21 times a week. If you're not providing value, or if you don't have an audience to provide value to, none of the streams matter. So with regards to that process, let's get into it. So the traditional buying process, guys, looks something like this. So you had a customer that found out about a business and was interested in whatever that business had to offer. And once they find out about the product or service, they buy the product or service, and then they decide whether they like or they don't like it. Now, today's modern buying model is slightly different. We have one more step involved here. So instead of that customer walking down the street, looking through your front window and seeing a product that they like, they could be in that exact same scenario. But now they can whip out their phone and they can go onto your website and look at all of the products that you have to offer and compare what you have to offer, as well as the experiences from your former customers, and compare you to 10 other businesses in 10 minutes. So it's this stage where they now decide whether they want you or some other business down the street. And this right here is the main step that we're going to talk about today. Now, for anyone who might be a little confused with what's on screen right now, don't worry, I am going to walk you through all the steps here. Right now, you guys are looking at 2 important pieces of information. So at the top, you're going to have the 6 core areas of an online business. At the bottom, we have the journey that somebody goes through to become your customer. So I'm going to show you guys how these 2 things relate, and then why, for a lot of these comic shop owners who are coming forward saying the negative things about the digital side, I'm going to show you why they're likely not implementing this stuff, and show you that if they did implement this stuff, they could actually take advantage of the digital side and ride the wave instead of talking down on it. So remember these 6 areas: social media, listings, reputation, website, advertising, and SEO. We're going to come right back to them. Now, the first step for any consumer to become a customer of a business nowadays is to, 1, be aware of the business, right? And then 2, once they're aware, they have to be interested in what that company has to offer. Next, we have findability. Once the potential customer is interested, they're now going to go online, as mentioned before, because they have the resources, and they're going to look the business up to do more research. Now that brings us to the next stage, reputation. This is where they do that research. Your ratings, your reviews, how you're responding to the reviews, how you're responding to comments on your social media, customer experiences, that type of stuff. And as I also mentioned before, this is where that potential customer is either going to choose you or a better business they found online while they were doing that research. From there, they convert. In this case, they chose business B because they had better reviews. And then the last step is now turning that new customer into an advocate of your brand. So they may have paid you, but now you got to provide the service. So going back, getting those reviews, spreading that social proof, and then all that social proof is what kind of restarts the cycle. The people who find out about the business go online, look at the reviews. Those reviews convert them into a paying customer. They leave a positive review from their service, and so on and so forth. Now, how exactly does this journey, how does it tie into those 6 areas we were talking about before? Well, heading back to the first stage here, awareness. Somebody is often going to become aware of a company through social media or some sort of paid advertising. And as shown with the icons right below there, those are 2 out of the 6 areas we talked about. And once they're interested in what that business has to offer, they go online to do that research, but they often find the company through some sort of listing, which is going to be any third-party site online with your business details, from social media to sites like Yelp and Yellow Pages, or they may find the company through a search engine, Google, Yahoo, Bing, DuckDuckGo, Brave. So out of the 6 core areas of an online business, we've now covered social media, paid advertising, listings, and SEO. That's 4 out of the 6 areas. Now, once they find you on a listing or a search engine, they're going to look more into your reputation to do their research. As mentioned before, ratings, engagement, customer satisfaction, that type of stuff. Reputation management is area 5 of 6. And our last area is going to be our website, which is where someone will often convert into a paying customer. Think VeVe Comics. So the point I'm trying to make here, guys, is that if a local comic book shop, I've never seen an instance where a company does not grow when they focus effectively, that's the key word there, on all 6. Not 1, not 2, not 4, not 5, all 6. Now, shout out to 𝗘𝗿𝗿𝗀𝗀𝗍𝗍 because he is the individual I want to use as an example here, and in a positive way, of course. So this is an individual who runs live shows over on a platform called Whatnot. And as you see on the right-hand side, in 15 hours, he sold 151 mystery bags and had a ton of fun with his audience. If there are people watching this video and local comic book shop owners who want to make the argument that a business can't accomplish the same that a single man is doing on the internet, get out of here. I'm sorry, that's just complete baloney. 𝗘𝗿𝗿𝗀𝗀𝗍𝗍 Whatnot shows work for one reason and one reason only: community. He has established a community. And speaking of that, the CEO of VeVe still owns all of his retail shops. Do you see him walking around being like, damn it, I'm kind of screwing over my retail business? No. Why? Because David has established a community that keeps going back to his stores. And again, I want to stress the importance of those tables in the back of his shop. People come to trade cards and do this and that. That forms a relationship. So I want to go back to my previous point about how there's more involved than just going live. Because for anyone who looks at 𝗘𝗿𝗿𝗀𝗀𝗍𝗍𝗍 and goes, oh, okay, so I own a shop, I have a ton of inventory, all I need to do is just click the go live button and people are going to buy from me. No, that's not how that's going to work. People are not buying the stuff from 𝗘𝗿𝗿𝗀𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍 because they just wanted the random item that showed up in the mystery box. Okay, it's a mystery box, first off. People are buying them because they're buying into him. He's created a community and that community wants to support him. So what exactly can local comic book shop owners do to adapt to the digital side? I wanted to make a video on this because I do feel like it's going to be a topic that resurfaces. So whenever it does, I'm just going to direct people to this video. But the first one is introducing a digital integration. So offer digital comic subscriptions. And actually, now that I'm reading that back, what I mean by that is not digital comics, but a digital subscription to a comic delivery every single month, or a comic bundle, or something like that. You can also provide incentives for customers to purchase both physical and digital copies, such as bundled discounts or exclusive digital content with physical purchases. So I completely understand that if a shop directs me to VeVe and I buy a comic on VeVe, they don't really benefit from that in any way. But if they incentivize me to go to VeVe in some way so that I qualify for something in their store, that benefits the shop by having more people come into the store. So next up, and this is probably the biggest one on today's list, e-commerce. I am shocked at how many comic book shops do not have this featured. I feel like I'm back in the car industry, for crying out loud. Out of the 8 shops in my local area, 1 has an e-commerce feature. And when I say e-commerce, I'm talking about having the ability to add products that they offer in store to a cart to check out online. Because right now, a lot of these stores are still operating off traditional methods. They may have a website, right? But what a lot of these shops are doing is they're just posting photos of their inventory. So in this case, my only option is to either go into the store or call in and hope that they offer delivery to wherever I'm located. E-commerce, guys, is such a basic feature nowadays. We're not even talking about digital comics here. We're talking about a business owner's inability to adapt to just digital tools, digital resources. Because a pattern that's becoming quite clear here is that all of the comic book shop owners that are coming forward and saying the things that they're saying about the digital side are all the shops that aren't performing well or perform better back in the day. The shops that are crushing it, that have implemented features like e-commerce to allow people to buy stuff through their website, those are the shop owners that are not saying any of this stuff. Why? Because they're on the front lines crushing it. So maintain a strong online presence with an e-commerce platform that complements your physical store. How long has Chapters and Indigo been online for? I remember as a kid with my family, we would go to the movies. And before the movies, we would sit down at a restaurant, and then there would be some time between when we eat and when we watch the movie. While we were waiting, there would be a Chapters store right beside the movie theater. We would walk into the Chapters store, and I would walk over to the computer to search on their online catalog all the books they had available in their store. This is nothing new. Now, when you think of e-commerce, most people think about the added convenience of being able to buy and have it shipped to you. But when it comes to offering this option, you can also provide people the opportunity to pick up in store. And in the process of doing that, they might see something else that they like. Now, our next point here I actually got from Big Bang Theory, but in-store experiences. So create immersive experiences that can't be replicated online. Speaking of the answer we got from some of these shop owners about how, these shops act as community hubs, host events, cosplay contests, author signings, or artist workshops. Make your store a destination for fans. It would also be a good way to set yourself apart from the local competition, right? People talk, and word about, your comic book shop having a relationship with Keanu Reeves would be a very positive thing. Next up, we talked a little bit about it already, but community building. So like David, foster a strong sense of community within your store. Host regular meetups, discussion groups, or gaming nights. Most comic book shops that I walk into are just dead nowadays. Liven them up. Encourage your customers to share their love of comics and connect with like-minded individuals in your physical space. This is exactly what those tabletop games in the back of David's shop do. Next up, you could offer exclusive merchandise. So partner with local artists or independent creators to offer exclusive merchandise only available in your store. If you have the ability to set up a signing event or an artist event at your shop, pitch the artist. We just had Vincent try and pitch Peach Momoko to do cover work for Addiction. But you could include variant covers, prints, or collectibles. Trying to pitch the artist is one way, but actually acquiring the merchandise is another. So let's say you own a comic book shop in New York City, right? Head to New York Comic Con and try and get some exclusive merchandise that you can offer in your store. Some signed work, some really rare covers, something that makes people's eyes widen, whether they walk into your store or whether they add it to their cart online. Because there should always be that option. We're in 2024, people. Now, elaborating on my point before about subscriptions, they could offer subscription boxes tailored to different interests or genres within the comic world. So it could be artist specific, it could be an art style, it could be a publisher, it could be a complementary item with the comic, right? Like a comic with a Funko. You could include a mix of new releases, back issues, and exclusive items to keep customers engaged and excited about each delivery. So you're almost kind of introducing a new thrill, a new rush, right? Because the excitement traditionally associated with a comic book shop is heading to the shop and then being able to sift through all the comics. You can now attract a whole new type of audience who may not want to do that, but they might enjoy the thrill of wondering what's going to show up in the box that gets delivered to their front door. So it's about catering to different types of people while diversifying your offerings. Now, speaking of doing just that, these shops can utilize technology. So digital catalogs can get sent to the customers every single month, interactive displays, augmented reality experiences. How easy would it be for a comic book shop to get an account with VeVe, purchase 10 different collectibles, and then have a display in their store that shows those collectibles? Or maybe a sign at the front desk being like, ask us to meet Thor, or ask us to meet Miles Morales. And then next thing you know, the shop owner whips out his phone and augments Miles Morales right next to you. Takes a photo, great memory at the shop. Oh, would you do us a quick favor? If you enjoyed your experience, can you just take that photo, toss it on social media, and tag us at XYZ? And actually, on top of that, because you're willing to share that, here's a little promo code to a comic on VeVe that you can redeem. If you come back in next time and you pair that comic with one in our shop, I got something else I can give you. There's so many different ways they can take this. The problem is, and just based off my experience here, lots of these shop owners are just turning a blind eye to it. Now, I did talk about diversifying your offerings. So how exactly could they do this? Expand beyond just comics to include related merchandise like apparel, toys, board games, or trading cards. It's a little ironic, don't you think, that David's shops already do that? Oh, here's why. You can appeal to a broader audience. In fact, that's actually a question I asked to these owners. I said, how often is somebody coming in and buying different types of merchandise with comics? And one of the shop owners said to me that people bundle stuff all the time. And last but not least, we're going to end it with a banger here, collaborating with digital platforms, aka VeVe. Partner with digital platforms like VeVe to offer exclusive digital content or promotions for customers who also support your physical store. So hey, congratulations, I see you're picking up an addiction number 2. Here's a little promo code I can give you to redeem a digital copy over on VeVe. And you could even do that a couple ways. You could advertise that beforehand on the front door or even on the comics, or you could surprise the customer at checkout. Find ways to bridge the gap between physical and digital comics. Again, I want to reiterate here, not because they can't, because they aren't. And I am generalizing there. I'm not talking about every single comic book shop, okay? Because again, the ones who are voicing their opinions, who are more often than not negative towards the digital side, all of those people are typically older, who had a more successful business back in the day during traditional times, who have turned a blind eye to the digital side, and as a result of that have a lack of knowledge and experience with digital tools, which is why they aren't adapting properly. So if a local comic book shop had a website to begin with, right? I'll explain the full process that we went over with the modern customer journey, but applying it to myself here, okay? Let's say I'm looking for a comic in my local area. I want a physical book, right? I go online now and I'm going to type in local comic book shop. Let's say I click on the first one. Oops, they don't have a website. Right away, I lose trust. Now I can see on Google that they have 8 5-star reviews. Awesome, cool. People seem to be having a positive time at the store, but I can't really find out much more about it. So I go back to the first page and click the second listing. This business has 12 5-star reviews, okay? They have more, and they also have a website. So now I go back to the home page, I click the third listing, okay? This business has 58 5-star reviews. They have a website, have social media pages. They're actively posting on all their social media. When I go onto their website, I can see all their inventory, all their products that they offer. I can even add it to my cart so I can have what I want shipped to my door, or I can actually go in and pick it up. So although I just gave 3 different examples, I didn't choose number 1 or number 2 because number 1 and 2 were not effectively focusing on all 6 areas. Fine. If they were, they'd be in the exact same position as our third example. So I really hope I got my point across in this video. I'm not trying to say that these comic shops are not adapting. They absolutely are trying. There's just a lot that are not succeeding because they're not taking the right step. So do I think that the digital side is hurting or helping the physical? I absolutely think it's helping. The flippin' CEO of VeVe is on both sides of the conversation here. He owns physical retail shops that are successful while also operating a digital collecting company that's also successful. So I don't believe you can say that either one is winning. I think both sides complement each other, but the ones who are making it seem like it's having a negative impact are the ones who are being lazy and ones who lack a student mentality to be open-minded about teaching and educating themselves on the new side. If an LCS owner is complaining about digital comics, I'm very confident in saying that it's likely because they're not focusing on some of the areas we discussed in this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to conclude today's episode. I hope you enjoyed. That's going to be some answers from my local comic book shop owners. as well as a little walkthrough of today's modern customer journey and the things that these shops can do to adapt that journey. But if you guys enjoy the content, make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below what you want to see in a future episode. As for our next, catch you then.